This is our next graph of example 1, and I just want to take the time to digest this visually for a second. And remember, just like we read a sentence from left to right, we read a graph from left to right. I'm going to start at my left and sort of trace it. I usually do this with my finger, but you can see my pen. And when we start off, we can see that in our x values, we're going to negative infinity, and our y values are going to negative infinity as well. Y values are going down, and the x values are going to the left as well. We're going down and to the left. That doesn't really matter. What I want you to see is that we are increasing. Our y values are getting larger. Okay? Our y values get larger and then they stop getting larger at that x value of negative 8. Okay? While I'm decreasing, I'm going to do a different color. So I'm still reading from left to right, but as I'm traveling from the x value of negative 8 to negative 6, you can see that that y value is decreasing. The increasing and the decreasing, we really look at what's happening in the y values, and we use the x values to describe that. So I'm decreasing, my y values are getting smaller from negative 8 to negative 6. Now, once I get to negative 6, something happens. And let's try to use maybe black for that. Okay, something happens and my y values do nothing. They do nothing at all as I travel from negative 6 to negative 3 on my x-axis. But once I get past negative 3 on my x-axis and I continue going from the left to the right, once I go from negative 3 to negative 2 on the x-axis, those y values are getting larger again. And then as I keep reading from left to right, and I go from negative 2 and just keep going to infinity, those y values don't grow at all. So let's notate this that we see happening graphically. Now you can see in that light green that I traced the graph with that my graph was increasing. Those y values were getting larger. I went from negative infinity down at the bottom because that's where y was headed. From negative infinity to a y value of positive 2, so it was getting larger. And I'm going to use x values to notate that. So
Now that we've traced everything out and can sort of see what's happening through the different colors, I want to formally notate my increasing, decreasing, and my places where the interval where my graph is constant. Um, so you can see in the green that the y value went from down here it was headed to negative infinity, okay, and then it got larger to a y value of 2. Um, so I want to explain, see, the y values are increasing as we go from left to right. So that is a place where our function is increasing, and I use my x-axis to notate this. So from negative infinity, we were reading this graph from left to right. From negative infinity to 2, my y values are increasing. And then again, that other place we have traced in green, we had a y value of negative 2 and a y value of 3. So as we went from left to right, our y values grew again, but we use our x values to notate that. So from negative 3 to the x value of negative 2, we increased again. Now, decreasing would be when we're going from left to right and our y values decrease, okay? So right here, At 2, we had, excuse me, at -8, we had a y value of 2. And then as we go left to the x value of -6, that y value decreased from 2 to -2. Okay, so I'm going to use my x values to notate that spot where my y values decrease. So from -8 to -6, we decreased. And that's the pink section. Now, if we're not increasing and we're not decreasing, we must be remaining constant. So this would be when I'm going from left to right and my y values stay the same. So as I go from 6, the x value of -6, to the x value of -3, those y values are both -2. They're staying the same. So I'm constant from the x value of -6 to the x value of -3. But I'm also constant, so I union it together at -2 at the x value of -2. As I go to infinity on the x-axis, okay, that y value is always at +3. That y value never changes. So from -2, the x value of -2 to infinity on the x-axis, my y values are constant at that 3.
So in the second part, in our third graph of example 1, I'm going to start off just like I did in the last example and read this thing from left to right, sort of digest it visually. See, we have graph from the x value of -4 to +4. Okay, so I'm going to start off reading this thing from left to right. And you can see when I start at -4 right here, we have a y value of, and let me just get that to where you can read it. We have a y value of 5. Then we come over here to an x value of 1 and have a y value of 1. And then at our x value of 3, we have a y value of 2. And at our x value of 5, we have a y value of 2. So let's sort of trace this thing out like we did last time. As we go from that x value of -4 to +1, our y values are decreasing from 5 to 1. And then as we go from the x value of 1 to the x value of 3, our y values are increasing from 1 to 2. And then as we move past that x value of 3 and go to 5, our y value doesn't move at all. So to describe what is happening as far as increasing and decreasing, we're only increasing from -4, excuse me, we're only increasing from +1 to +3, right here in the middle. And then we decrease from the x value of -4 to the x value of 1, that green part. And then we're constant from the x value of 3 to the x value of 5. So again, we can visually see the increasing and decreasing. I like to think of it as falling off and climbing a mountain. Because see that green part that you see on your screen, that's like walking down a mountain, okay? And you're decreasing in height. And you see that with your y-axis, but you describe that change um, using the x-axis. So that decrease that you see, the light green, we have to say that that happens from the x value of -4 to 1 and so forth, with the increase from 1 to 3 and being constant from 3 to 5.